All right. So there's an interesting topic that I wanted to mention for a couple minutes just because I never thought I would be talking about this, and yet here I am. So, all over the place what I work at here are posters, pictures, and stuff talking about empowerment. So, that had originally got me thinking as far as what it was, and just, me thinking that it's not needed at all. So, once I started delving into it, I realized, you know what, maybe I'm a little off here. But I believe empowerment is supposed to be uplifting the individual by putting support underneath them without actually improving their abilities or characteristics or anything like that. However, the difference between that and self improvement or upgrades is that you're not replacing anything so much as you're adding to them for a certain amount of time, anyway. It's not exactly permanent, anyway. So, this is needed on some levels, and in corporations, companies, and businesses where they have employees and a whole bunch of people who are working, sometimes you need to actually upgrade them without ever touching upon them individually. So that is the strength of it inside of, in the business world, so to speak. So with that in mind, it it changes the perspective a little bit from the biblical side, which is speculated that God has touched upon many people's lives, including those who were not actually following Him and who did not care about Him. But it has been recorded that the Holy Spirit has come upon quite a few individuals where there would be a strange type of power that came upon them. Moses with his face glowing, and King Saul, when he had basically chosen to rebel and to stray away from the Lord, and Samson, when he became strong and lifted the gates from this one city that he was basically stuck at, and just carried the gates for like a couple hundred yards away and just dropped them. Now, I want to say that overall, it seems like empowerment has actually been used more for men than for women in biblical times, which is a bit interesting. It makes you question as far as why and the purpose of all that. But it is worth noting that God seems to favor empowerment as well as working with individuals through the trials and the hardships that would come upon them. Empowerment itself is a way to, well, it's just interesting to see the effects as well as how God would work in these individuals' lives. In our own life, it's a little bit different, but it's a lot more complicated just because the technology itself has grown. Not so much that, well, the technology as well as the expectations placed upon us. And if you're not aware, the U.S. is one of the top busiest countries out there in the world, excuse me. I think Japan is number one, and like the U.S. is like number five. It's just that business is to be expected, and people are demanded to be. There's a certain level of performance that is demanded, and that does tie a little bit in with professionalism. But either way, it's just interesting to note that God did not immediately reject and outright condemn empowerment, but actually supports it, or so it seems anyway. It's just the wording is very interesting as far as the way it would talk about how the Holy Spirit would come upon others, and it got me thinking. So anyway, just want to spend a few minutes just talking about this and sharing my thoughts on this because it really surprised me. I genuinely was not expecting that, well, to talk about this and to come to the conclusion that I came to. Well, a little bit deeper here, but maybe it's just because those who have issues with men use it to try to boost women up at the expense of men. So maybe there's the negative connotation there just because of how I've heard it and how many times I've heard this talked about in this particular way. All right, until next time.